I would like to personally thank you and the 5 other people who clicked on this video about Toyota's battery EVs. No, don't go anywhere. This is important. After years of telling the world that battery EVs are not ready, they suddenly now have a larger lineup of BEVs than most of their competition. The automaker that perfected just-in-time manufacturing has its wave of BEVs arrive just in time to wave goodbye to the US federal tax credits. That sucks, but with 4 Toyota BEVs and not 1 but 2 confirmed Lexus models, they better not suck. Let's do a quick run-through of their battery electric lineup to see how they stack up to the competition. And along the way, you tell me if you think Toyota has finally committed to battery electrics, or is this just some kind of passing fad for them? In 2023, CEO Akio Toyoda, grandson of the founder of the company, stepped down from that position and assumed the role of chairman, but he never left the spotlight. The leadership swap happened during the peak optimism for electric vehicles, and it was seen as an adjustment in their strategy. No longer would they dismiss battery electrics. They revealed details on their next generation EV platforms, including battery research into solid state and gigacastings. They saw what was happening in China, a major market for them, and heard from dealers in California that they were losing customers to Tesla. Charge ahead 3 years, and now Toyota has a healthy lineup of BEVs to offer, but they face headwinds in America. The federal EV credit was killed off early. Other automakers are adding and subtracting to their lineup, and maybe worst of all, tariffs. Yes, the Supreme Court ruled against the IEEPA tariffs, but auto, steel, and aluminum are covered under Section 232. So not to bore you, but they're not going away for any Toyotas made in Japan. And most of them are going to be made there. Japan negotiated a 15% tariff rate coming into the US. Let's assume they do not try to renegotiate that. You can see how uncertainty in consumer demand and in trade policy makes it almost impossible to make long-term plans. I'll start off with vehicles built on the e-TNGA architecture, or e-TNGA if you prefer. It's the electric Toyota new global architecture. From this one architecture, we get 3 Toyota models and 1 Lexus model, plus 3 Subarus that I'll call out along the way, but not in detail. I'll start off with the smallest model, but it's not their cheapest, the all-new 2026 Toyota CHR. That name was previously used for its smallest gas-powered crossover, and now it's all electric. But don't think that Toyota has given up on petrol, because they still have the Corolla Cross model that is adding to their lineup, not giving up on gas and hybrids. The CHR competes with vehicles like the Tesla Model Y. The Toyota is a little shorter than the Model Y. The CHR comes only in all-wheel drive, while the Model Y offers both rear and all-wheel drive. It's a little weird because the Subaru Uncharted, which is a name I still can't get used to, I don't know why, but they said they'll offer that in all-wheel drive and front-wheel drive, but in very limited numbers, while the sibling Toyota has made no mention of a front-wheel drive model for now. Maybe that could be offered in the future for a little less money. Compared to the standard Model Y dual motor, the Toyota is $5,000 less expensive. The prices I list are the MSRP plus destination fees, which have been growing in the recent months. The Toyota and Tesla are close in terms of all-wheel drive power and EPA range, a slight advantage for the Tesla. Charging specs are hard to compare. Toyota says 10 to 80 in around 30 minutes, which doesn't sound fast. Tesla specifies miles added in 15 minutes. In general, we should expect the Tesla to charge faster than the Toyota, a peak somewhere around 225 kilowatts versus 150 kilowatts for the Toyota. Both have NACS or SAE J3400 connectors, so access to charging is a relatively even playing field. There are lots of other factors to consider. Toyota offers the CHR in both SE and XSE trim levels. On paper, the CHR does not pale in comparison to the Model Y. Yeah, I know, FSD, greatest technology on earth, blah, blah, blah. But don't be surprised if someone turns in their Model Y lease for a Toyota CHR. It's not crazy when you look at them on paper, and I think that will happen. Toyota plans to start shipping limited numbers of the CHR to dealers in March, probably first to hot EV markets where states provide some incentives. Toyota's going to lose money on each one, so they're going to limit what markets they sell them in. So the CHR looks good, but not great on paper. That's surprising because it's based on the much maligned BZ4X, now called just the BZ in America, which is barely a better name. The EV specs, though, have improved significantly. Since its launch, it is available in front-wheel drive only and with 2 battery sizes, thus the very appealing $36,350 base price for the XLE front-wheel drive with the smaller battery. But it comes with a very unappealing 235 miles of EPA range, so let's ignore that model. The Chevrolet Equinox EV has been selling really well, so let's compare it to a front-wheel drive LT1 trim with the front-wheel drive Toyota and the larger battery. The Equinox is surprisingly longer than the Toyota BZ. I thought they'd be closer in size. These two front-wheel drive BEVs have essentially the same power. The Equinox EV has a tiny bit more EPA range. Both are over 300 miles, so good acceleration, very good range. Charging, as I said before, is hard to compare, but on paper, both claim a 150 kilowatt peak charging. Depending on the temperatures and conditions, the equipment you're using, you may very well get less than that for both these vehicles, although the Equinox EV is currently still shipping vehicles with the CCS connection, while Toyota has transitioned its lineup to native NACS. Price is easier to compare. MSRP with destination included puts the Equinox EV at $3,000 cheaper than the Toyota BZ with the larger battery, but the XLE trim has some more amenities than Chevy's LT1 trim. So all in all, they're roughly priced the same without any incentives. Like the CHR, the BZ is also on the e-TNGA architecture and built by Toyota in Japan, as is its sibling, the Subaru Solterra, and the Lexus. So let's take a quick look at that. And you know what the hell, let's max out the specs on these. A 2026 Lexus RZ 550e F Sport. And let's bring in the Cadillac of compact EVs, the OPTIQ-V series, which is related to the Chevrolet Equinox. The Cadillac V series has more horsepower than the Lexus F Sport, 519 versus 402 horsepower. Stupid fast, 3.5 seconds to 60 versus 4.1 seconds for the Lexus. Range is a little better too, with a slightly larger battery. Like the Toyota versus Chevrolet comparison, both of these premium sport EVs charge all right, but not great, although the Cadillac has transitioned its vehicles to native NACS, while its Chevrolet siblings have yet to do so. Comparing the starting price, you can see that the faster Cadillac comes with a nearly $10,000 higher starting price. The last model off this platform is the Toyota BZ Woodland and the Subaru Trailseeker. This BEV is made in Japan, but at a Subaru plant, not Toyota, and there's a lot about it that says Subaru. The overall shape is like an electric Outback, and I dig that. Very much station wagon-like, but don't say that too loud because it'll probably kill its sales in the US. You'll see familiar EV specs like battery size and charging speed from other e-TNGA vehicles, but it does have a little more horsepower, 375 versus 338 horsepower, and X Mode, which is Subaru's name for its enhanced all-wheel drive functionality. It also has 8.4 inches of ground clearance to help you through deep snow in Vermont. It's only a 2-row, so I won't compare it to vehicles like the Kia EV9, but Hyundai does offer the lifted XRT trim on the Ioniq 5, and it has a similar vibe. That vehicle is much shorter than the Toyota, and it doesn't have as much cargo space, but it charges much faster thanks to its 800-volt architecture. A somewhat unexpected model that is on a different platform is the 2026 Lexus ES. Yes, people do still buy four-door sedans in America. Not everything has to be a crossover. Unveiled at the Shanghai Auto Show last year as a hybrid or with a battery EV powertrain. This is based on the TNGA K platform, just like the Camry. The Lexus ES will also be made in Japan. We don't have any new specs since that unveiling last year. Lexus should be revealing those details soon. 220 horsepower from a single front-wheel driven model and 338 horsepower for the dual-motor all-wheel drive. Those numbers sound familiar, so we can assume the motors are borrowed from the BZ. In dual-motor all-wheel drive has an EPA range of approximately 250 miles. That's not great for a premium Lexus. I'm guessing they use the 57.7 kilowatt-hour battery. That's the standard battery in the BZ. Not great range, and I think we can assume that peak charging will be 150 kilowatts just like all the other. I'm not optimistic about this model in the US. Outside of the US, though, it may get more interest, but only against other Western brands. Anywhere where it has to compete with premium Chinese BEVs, it won't match their EV technology. The latest BEV from Toyota is their Highlander EV, taking that name away from the long-running gas model, because many customers have been opting for the slightly roomier Grand Highlander, which offers gas and hybrid powertrains. It is based on a modified e-TNGA K platform, but when you see the specs, there's a lot of familiar numbers, up to 338 horsepower in dual mode all-wheel drive, charges 10 to 80% in around 30 minutes. So again, peaking at about 150 kilowatts. The base battery is not 74 kilowatt hours, but 77 kilowatt hours with an optional 96 kilowatt hour long-range battery. Now I can compare the 3-row electric Toyota to the Kia EV9, and the power and range looks really good. The base single motor Toyota has more power, but a lot more range, 57 more miles of range from a nearly identical sized battery. That range advantage carries over to the all-wheel drive models, where Kia has more power, but less range than the Toyota Highlander EV in its all-wheel drive configuration. Toyota appears to have made a larger EV with very good efficiency, but still only modest fast charging. Pricing has yet to be announced, but expect them to attack the Kia EV9 head-on. Both EVs are made in the US, so tariffs won't affect the assembled vehicles very much, just the parts that go in them. I've yet to try out their route planning and search for EV charging locations in their native navigation. If it sucks though, you still have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto to use. And I have yet to talk about the styling of Toyota EVs. Their newest models I really like, technical looking, modern, and apparently good aerodynamics. Toyota's styling overall has greatly improved over the past 5 years. Speaking of styling, Lexus showed off a stylish LFA concept, which is a battery EV, or at least it's planned to be a BEV, based on the Toyota GR-GT, which is a real vehicle intended for production with a twin turbocharged V8. Apparently, Lexus plans to go all electric with its powertrain. We don't have specs. Maybe they changed their mind and also offer the V8. We just don't know, but I wanted to make sure you didn't think I forgot about it. Bonus round. For this video, I had to look into what batteries does Toyota even use? The answer, Prime Earth EV Energy is a Toyota Panasonic JV that makes prismatic batteries for PHEVs and hybrids. Prime Planet Energy Solutions is a second JV between the two, making prismatic batteries for BEVs. The battery electric cells are higher capacity, larger size format than the hybrid batteries, but they're able to manufacture them on different lines, but in the same manufacturing locations. I tend to think of Panasonic as making cylindrical cells with their NCA chemistry. That's what they provide to Tesla, but they also design these prismatic format cells with NCM chemistry, nickel, cobalt, manganese, for this joint venture with Toyota. And now they're out. Toyota bought out Panasonic's stake in both JVs for all locations globally. That includes the operations in the US that just opened and will feed batteries to Toyota in Kentucky for the Highlander EV and for their other North American plants making hybrid vehicles without a plug. Last time I checked, Toyota's PHEV models were all still coming from Japan. Maybe they start making the PHEV vehicles in North America, like the RAV4 PHEV in Ontario, or, because of the Canadian tariffs, maybe not. This complexity is what all automakers have to deal with. And the uncertainty means that Toyota's plans may change too. Highlander EV is planned to start production in late 2026. Maybe that slides a little. Shipments of the CHR, the refreshed BZ and BZ Woodland EVs will likely be limited as they lose a lot on each one. If they continue to price these BEVs aggressively and someday get them to charge faster, this could mark the beginning of Toyota's long-term relationship with battery EVs. In the short term, there will be some drama, and they are definitely not giving up on hybrids, but they should consider breaking up with hydrogen. Now, I'm just saying.